Thank you, Adam. Starting the recording. Okay. All right, everybody, welcome. We will get started. So, Adonai and I thought we could start with an icebreaker in the chat. Our icebreaker today is, what is your favorite season of the year? So, fire away in the chat. So good to have you all here today. The link to the agenda is right here. I will put it in the chat. We've got the English on top and the Spanish translation below. So we have a lot to talk about today. I'm anticipating that we maybe don't get through it all, but we have a lot going on right now in the Community Food Access Program. So hoping that we can update you all on all the brand new, hot off the press information going out in this meeting. So up at the top, I've got sort of the same reminders that I had the past couple months. Remember that your quarterly reports are due on Halloween for Q1. So please just give me a nudge when it's done, or if you prefer to just submit a PDF of your up-to-date quarterly report, you can do it that way too. Just let me know when you finished updating it. And again, we've talked about this. If you're having a hard time using that report to really capture all the activities that you're doing, let's meet and talk about how to adjust your spreadsheet so that you can input everything, all of your activities that you're doing, and that can be recorded. Another reminder that we're shifting the date of our November and December meetings to accommodate winter holidays. So yeah, please put that on your calendar. I'll give some reminders. Contract extensions. I know we've been talking about this a lot. We are very, very close to finally sending you that final extension notice that you'll sign. Again, the reason for the delay is that we want to calculate the most accurate total and make sure all of our funds are spent from this bucket of money, this federal bucket of money. So we really want to do the math really accurately. And extending your contracts is the last thing we'll do with our federal monies. So yeah, that's why we want to make sure it's right. So keep an eye out for those coming. Hopefully by the next time we meet, they will have been sent out to you and you guys can sign. So yeah, and feel free to reach out to me if there's something you want to discuss about your contract extension. Yeah, just so we can all be on the same page about the next 2 years of this work. And then another reminder, if you haven't already, to just take a look at the Get Help in Your Area webpage, and let me know if that information and that the contact info on there is accurate, and that is, the way you want people to be reaching out to your organization if they hear about this program through our website. Any questions about those little housekeeping items? Cool. Yeah, that's all sort of old news. All right, so before we launch into updates about the Community Food Consortium, I wanted to give you an update on our tax credit. So as you all know, we had the first review period close on August 30th. And we've been using those examples that have come in to understand, yeah, really as test cases, right? These are the first examples of tax credits that the Department of Agriculture has awarded for any program, right? Because this is our first tax credit program. So there's been a lot to learn. There's been a lot of back and forth with Department of Revenue. But I'm excited to tell you guys tentatively that we are planning to issue tax credit awards to 2 of the businesses who applied. They're the only 2 who did apply. They did it well. There's a lot to navigate, but yeah, we're excited to issue those 2 awards as soon as we iron out some of the kind of logistical kinks with Department of Revenue. But I wanted to tell you that so you have a sense of how much of the 10 million has been awarded. Not much. Between these 2 awards, it's under 50,000. So, yeah, there's still plenty of money left. So, yeah, I just want you all to know that as outreach providers, that chances are pretty strong if you are working with a business who's applying that they wouldn't be denied because we're running out of funds. So, as I've mentioned before, at some point we will get a nice tracker up on our website that has a, for everyone to view how much of the 10 million for each year has been awarded, so people can gauge the likelihood of getting that tax credit. But until we have that, I'm just gonna tell you guys verbally, there's still plenty of money left. We've also been reading through a lot. Oh, Lauren, go ahead.
Hi, just a quick question. Are there any implications for the tax credit programs like longevity and sustainability if the 10 million allocated every year is like not spent down or significantly not dispersed?
That's a good question. Um, I think so. I don't know the answer to that, but what I'm assuming is that Department of Agriculture needs to report back to the legislature on how things are going. And for all of you who may be paying attention to the state's budget, there's a lot that the state wants to do and we don't have the money to do. So I'm sure that at some point there could be a question of, wow, you guys really aren't spending all of your 10 million. Could we instead use that? We may modify the legislation instead of 10 million being available. It's more like 5 or 3 or something. Who knows? This is me kind of speculating. So um, that's what I assume. As it's written now in the legislation, it's 10 million every year until 2030. But of course, we've got to, yeah, demonstrate that we're making good use of those funds. So, does that help? I think that's,
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
yeah. So our job is to just implement the program as best we can to the letter of the law. I think there's some grace given in this first year, especially as it overlaps with this grant opportunity. But yeah, in the coming years, we definitely do want to help businesses maximize use of this tax credit as, as applicable, right? So cool. Any other questions about that? Cool. So I also wanted to address the fact that we've gotten a lot of eligibility request forms submitted, which is really exciting. That gives the department a lot of examples to think about. And yeah, I think I've connected with some of the outreach and TA providers who've been working with applicants who have submitted eligibility request forms. I do just want to say that it's about the same amount of time for someone to fill out the eligibility request form as it is to fill out the actual application. So I can see how folks are maybe thinking, I'm just going to make sure this is worth my time by getting a thumbs up, green light from this request form before I submit the application. We just ask that if someone already bought something, that they just fill out the application because it's about the same amount of time. And yeah, if they're reading on the website that what they bought is eligible and that they are an eligible business, we just ask that we direct them straight to the application to, yeah, save them that step. Yes, Jay.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess I was sort of imagining that if they'd already bought the equipment, they would apply for the tax credit. But if they were considering buying the equipment this year or next year, that they fill out the eligibility form. And what I'm
Yes. Yeah.
realizing is it actually seems like it's going to be more work on your end because the questions are pretty much the same, but you're having to completely review them. Because I'm under the impression the questions are so similar, they're going to be able to use that all their answers in the eligibility form in the application when they finally submit it, right?
Yeah. 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 You're thinking about this exactly the right way. So
Okay.
yeah, if they haven't bought it yet and they just want a little bit more certainty that if they bought it and if the funds were available that they would be eligible, then it's a good idea to fill out that application. And it's a good chance to get a little bit of feedback, right? We might say, yes, it is eligible, but you need to prove that you're using it in this way, right? So it's not a bad idea to direct people to the eligibility request form. Um, yeah, we encourage it, but if they did already buy it, they should just fill out the application. So yeah. Perdita.
I just wanted to mention that I think that in the case that people are kind of doing that on their own as well. Because I have been communicating that and people are still choosing to do that eligibility
Yeah.
letter. So that's kind of I think because it's on the website, it's just
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah, I realize that. I think it's natural to just sort of, yeah, feel like, oh, this is gonna guarantee something for me. So before I go to the links, I'm going to yeah, just fill out this form. So I think you're right. I'm just saying it to reiterate it for all of you guys and let folks know it's going to be the same amount of work for them to fill out that eligibility form as it is to just fill out the application if they already bought it. So yeah. The letter of eligibility is something that's in legislation. So this isn't something that me and Adonai and Michelle came up with. It's in the legislation that we have to offer this. And I do like it, but I do think there are some times where it does confuse the process a little. So any other questions about that letter of eligibility? I will also say that so, right, there are some folks who are eligible businesses who are buying, a piece of equipment that's listed on the website. They're requesting a letter of eligibility, and what our reply is yes, you are eligible. Yes, this thing is eligible, but you need to prove that you have used it in the right way to advance the goals of this program. So that's sort of a new layer that I want to communicate with you all, that I think we were kind of talking about this as super cut and dry. If you're eligible, if what you're buying is eligible, then you will get it. There is still that piece that we want to keep telling you all, that they do need to demonstrate that the usage has been towards the goals of the program, which are, identify that low income, low access community you're reaching, and identify that you've expanded their opportunities to buy healthy food. Perdita.
That raises a question for me because I've had this conversation with someone about the time frame,
Mhm.
right? So because like let's just say, so that's been the question. If they buy the piece of equipment now, for example, right, and then they apply for the tax credit in December, the
Mhm.
question was, is that enough time to show, right? They're doing fall planting, they're like doing cover cropping, that's like going to increase the amount of food that's available, et
Mhm.
cetera. But, you know, does that demonstrate support of low income, low access community? Like what's the time frame? How long do they have to have been using the equipment before they apply for the tax credit?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Perdita, right? Because if they're buying this equipment so that they can do their fall planting, but they won't really make those sales until next year,
Mhm.
next spring, that is really tough. But what I would recommend is, right, any any way that they can state, you know, because I bought this equipment, access was expanded. So yeah, that's kind of the framework.
It has to
Um,
already be done, is what you're
It has
saying
to be
clearly. It
it
has
has
to
to be
be done.
demonstrated. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
Has to be past tense. It can't be, it's going to.
exactly. Right.
Okay.
We're talking about past, like for the grant, we were talking about future potential, but for the tax credit, we are talking about past tense. Right. So yeah, it's definitely it's a tough assignment um on all parties, right? But that I think what you brought up now is the biggest piece of advice that I can give to all of you supporting these applicants is help them frame. It doesn't have to be a large increase, but it has to have demonstrated that it is advancing the goals of the program. Any questions about that? Okay. Thanks for all your questions, Perdita. I feel like yeah, I just really appreciate the way you're working really closely with those businesses and getting some good feedback and sending them back to the group here. I want to say that the information session recordings are up on the website for those of you who want to watch them. Hopefully they are helpful. We will probably redo information sessions maybe once a year. I think the longer we have this program, the longer we will learn what the more frequently asked questions are, how to frame this. So this should be a helpful information session to view now, but know that we'll probably redo it again and again, and we'll have opportunities for people to attend live, right? So those are up there if you want to share those with anyone interested. Okay, now for the hot button topic. You all may recall that in previous Outreach and TA meetings, you all asked us, will an applicant be able to submit one application with multiple pieces of equipment included in that application? We were kind of wishy-washy on our answer. We kind of said, let's see. So we did, and without really saying anything, both of the applicants who submitted for the August round did apply for multiple pieces of equipment, which in working with those applications, we found that there were challenges with that. The primary one being that the Department of Revenue needs to issue the tax credit based off of the date that the piece of equipment was purchased, right? So I'm going to try to do my best with this one. Don't question me on these tax specifics, but what my understanding is that businesses have different tax years. So our tax credit program is operating on a calendar year. So it will be eligible for a tax credit, but Department of Revenue is going to go back in and say, okay, they have a credit, but which tax year for the business do we assign the credit to? because their tax year could end at a different month. So because of that level of specificity, we do need to process these one at a time, one purchase at a time. So yeah, at this time, we are asking folks to just submit one piece of equipment per application. This is, I know, frustrating because there's a lot of times where you don't want to repeat your whole story about your business just to apply for another item. And we are working, as I've mentioned, on adapting our application. So instead of a Google form, it is a more advanced software platform where we'll be able to sort of ask, do you have another piece of equipment to apply for? And then we can have a whole set of questions populate based off of your answer to that. We are still in the process of developing that though. So the other reason for this truly is, yeah, to really encourage folks to submit the largest piece of equipment. We know we've also talked about this. How is there a minimum dollar amount for what a costly piece of equipment is? We don't really have that guidance in legislation. So yeah, we're asking folks to just submit one at a time, their largest expense first, and then yeah, going from there. So I apologize for the way this is going to be frustrating for applicants, but yeah, again, we're still working through the nuances of this. And I think there are elements of the way this program was set up that nobody really considered. Department of Revenue, yeah, anybody. So questions, comments about that? Nothing. Come on, you guys. Yeah, Perdita.
Of course, I have a question. Well, so then I guess my question is, because I have definitely been working with people like with multiples. So then how many applications can they put in for one deadline?
As many as they want.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that helps us to do is really build the case for each thing. I bought a truck, it's doing this. I bought a tractor, it's doing this. I bought a refrigerator, it's doing this. And that's what the equipment really is right. When it all boils down to it, we have to say a credit was awarded because this piece of equipment advanced the goals of the program, not this business advanced the goals of the program. So yeah. Thanks, Perdita. Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right. I noticed folks were populating that lender spreadsheet. Very exciting. Thank you for doing that. Does anyone have any comments about some of the banks or CDFIs that they put on there? Didn't really check to see who added which which lender.
I can share that I felt like the most promising conversation I've had so far was with First Southwest Community Fund, which is the CDFI, and they are really interested in seeing some of the initial results and better understanding the process from like start to finish, from when a business applies for the tax credit to when they receive the money. And then kind of based on that, they're really open to looking into creating some kind of revolving low interest loan fund.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they're just like really dialed, like this is their niche. So I feel like their systems and processes are like super streamlined, whereas I've gotten feedback that entities like our slow money chapters are pretty slow at kind of the turnaround from when a farmer is interested in getting a loan from them to when they actually receive a loan.
Okay. Okay. That's really great information. Thank you. Is there anything I can do to help yeah, build that case for them and talk more about what the whole process would be? And yeah, would it be helpful to have a meeting with them?
I think after more than 2 folks have received the tax credit, and again, have like fully finished the process, like they've filed their taxes, the cash is either deducted from their taxes or they have a check in their, like cash in their bank account type of thing. That's how, yeah, they wanted to see the process start to finish.
Cool. Great. Sounds perfect. Thank you for initiating those discussions and learning so much, Lauren. Are there any other comments about lenders? Lending. Cool. All right. Yeah. Last thing I wanted to do on the tax credit is just kind of open it up to hear from all of you about how outreach has been going. I know we're all still learning about this tax credit, but I just wanted to provide a little time for anyone to share anything that they're working on or struggling with or unclear about.
Mickey, is there a I feel like there is, but I have lost it in my email. Is there a shared folder for the program that I
Yeah.
can get access to?
No worries. Yeah. Let me drop it in the chat for you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I have too many tabs.
I know. I'm sure you do. And I'm a Google, we have Google Suite here at the state. So Google folders are so easy for me, but I know not everybody has that, and it's not always the simplest thing. So here is, you know what? And it wouldn't be the worst idea to just have this linked in our agendas, every single one, so that it's all easily clickable. So that's
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the contractor resource folder. It could maybe do with a little bit of spring cleaning or organizing. But we will, yeah, everything should be in there to reference for these various, elements of the program. Any other comments, questions, concerns about how outreach is going so far for the costly equipment tax credit? Okay. All right. Well, we can move on then to the consortium updates. So we've talked a lot about how we're starting the consortium soon. We are finally starting the consortium though. So we're all really excited about that, a little apprehensive, but in that folder that Taylor just asked me to share, you'll see the presentation I gave a while back on what the legislation says the consortium is supposed to be. So I want to update you all now on our first steps of opening up the consortium. And I want to just say first, right off the bat, that the consortium is hopefully something that grows and develops. Unlike a tax credit program or a grant program, which is very much, CDA opens it and people take advantage of it. This is a network, this is a community, and we hope that it can be really responsive to all of the members of the community. That said, it's hard to say exactly what it will be, what it will become. So what we are starting with are the things that CDA is offering that businesses can take advantage of. We hope that they act as yeah, an incentive to be part of the group. So first things first, we have officially contracted with 3 food hubs throughout the state. These food hubs applied to an RFP, request for proposals, to offer member benefits to our retailer consortium members. So yes, we read those proposals. We sort of negotiated with some of the food hubs, and we officially signed contracts. And all consortium retailers, so everybody who has already received a grant, who is a retailer, was notified that they now have access to these exclusive member benefits through the food hub that is servicing their area. So those member benefits are detailed in 3 separate flyers, which I will share with you all. But they include things like, first of all, a promise to actually deliver. So a lot of these food hubs are going outside of their service area in order to reach retailers, which in and of itself can be really helpful for a lot of retailers who have no other distributor to deliver to them. Other member benefits include reduced delivery fees, special price lists, access to, special platforms, reduced, prices for events. So the member benefits kind of differ based off of which food hub is offering them. But yeah, we have kind of opened up that opportunity. So if you are in contact with, if you're touching base with businesses who already received a grant, give them a nudge and say, hey, have you checked out those member benefits? Are they enticing to you? Are you, do you think you'll take advantage of them, and encourage them to reach out to the food hub and set up an account so that they can start taking advantage of those member benefits. We plan to cover those member benefits and more at our first meeting, which we have tentatively planned to be December 5th, which, yeah, you all will be notified about that when it officially happens, and you all are welcome to join. There's also this huge element of the consortium that we are going to talk about at length at that meeting. And I want to talk with you all about it now. I know there's a lot of elements of our program, and this does get confusing, but there is a tax credit specifically for retail members of the consortium. The tax credit is for delivery fees that these retailers incur when they receive orders of healthy foods. So I want to talk to you all about what this opportunity means and how our consortium members can take advantage of it. And we will also be talking about it at length at that first member meeting. So we'll get into that in a minute, but I want to just kind of go through all of these little bullet points here. We're also going to be sending out a survey to all of our consortium members saying, what do you want this group to become? What are some other challenges you face? So we can sort of get a lay of the land with other resources we can provide through this consortium. And we are planning to send out a newsletter shortly to all the current members of, actually, sorry, we're going to send out two newsletters. One is to just the general community food access listserv. And that newsletter is going to invite businesses who are not already consortium members to apply. So this is relevant to all of you because if you know of a business, especially retailers, who applied for the grant but did not receive it, who are good fits, they could definitely benefit from becoming members of the consortium and having access to those Food Hub member benefits, as well as this consortium tax credit. So the application looks a whole lot like most of our applications, which is on a Google form. And we'll be asking all the same questions about what kind of business are you? Are you in a low income, low access community? And asking them to upload all of that proof that they actually are an eligible business. So our consortium website is actually up now and folks can apply now. We are still in the process of translating the application and translating this newsletter. But if you're really excited about getting a jump on this, you can go to our website. Let me pull it up. And yeah, so you can see here right under, with this left-hand navigation, right under the grants page, you can click on the Community Food Consortium. And this application is ready to go. All of their supporting documentation is to be submitted on docs.com. That is until we get, yeah, our other application platform up and ready to go. So I do want to stress that if someone was already awarded a grant, they do not need to apply to be part of the consortium. They already are a member. So no need to have everybody fill this out if they already were awarded a grant. But if they weren't, and especially if they're a retailer, this could be a really good thing to encourage folks to be included in. And we have about a month before that first meeting. So yeah, we're excited to get that newsletter out and start receiving those applications, start processing people before that first meeting. So any questions about any of that before I dig in a little bit deeper to those tax credits? Jay.
Yeah, sorry, there's a lot of hands happening in the thing. What would be nice is if, I'm curious if you have language for like potential eligible businesses that didn't receive the grant, so we can invite them. Like I know you're gonna send the thing out to all the grantees, but rather than us each crafting all this language ourselves to invite people to apply for the consortium, I'm just wondering if you guys have some stock text or an email that we can all use. Yeah, rather than us sending it to you, making sure it looks right.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I will definitely put something together. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks for that. Yeah, and you know, we can even kind of go through the list of who applied, who would have been a really good fit, who wasn't awarded, you know, if we want to do a really targeted approach. And it's not to say that farmers who applied and weren't awarded shouldn't join. They are totally welcome to. It's just the way the consortium is set up is to offer member benefits to retailers, to offer tax credits to retailers. So farmers who are really excited to be connected to retailers in low income, low access communities, this could be a great opportunity for them, but their benefits are really going to be more through the networking of the group. Okay. Any other questions about that before I dive into this tax credit consortium opportunity? Okay, well, so the tax credit for consortium members is both really exciting and a little bit daunting. But the way the consortium or the way the legislation talked about these tax credits is, for businesses that are incurring fees. So I'm going to just use an example down in the Southwest. I just visited our, Lake City grantee. So this is the only grocery store for 51 miles, and they receive deliveries through a distributor called Affiliated Foods, AFI. They receive a delivery about once a week, sometimes twice. They incur a fee for one, just requiring that the truck is refrigerated. They also incur a fee for the freight from, the nearest, I think it's like the nearest either distribution center or radius around the distribution center. And those fees are kind of a lot, like a couple $100 each time. They also get a fee every single delivery because they are a small store and they don't have a loading dock. A lot of these stores don't have a loading dock. So they get charged because the driver has to unload and unbox one box at a time. This obviously takes a lot more time for the driver. And so the distribution company says, we're charging you, little store, because you're little, right? So all of those fees add up quite a bit, about $20,000 over the course of a year, maybe more. The tax credit is for that business to show us all of these fees they incur and get, a tax credit on those fees. So for this store that incurs $20,000 worth of delivery fees every year, and it's well documented, this is going to be an amazing opportunity, right? This is just money back in their pockets, going back into the business. So this is a really good example of how exciting this can be. We do understand, though, that not every retailer has fees that are pulled out like this. A lot of distributors just incorporate the fee into the price of the food and say, hey, once you meet this order minimum, we don't charge you a delivery fee, but the cost is kind of baked in there. So this tax credit doesn't really help a lot with those situations. We are also trying to work with our legal team to understand, can we issue a tax credit for those retailers who don't have a distributor to go to them? And so the business owner or one of the staff has to drive to the nearest town. Can we reimburse them in the form of a tax credit for those, for the mileage costs of driving? So that's something we're still working out. Any questions about what I've said so far? Okay, I'm gonna attempt to walk through what the system we've set up for how to actually do this. Because I don't know if you're imagining what I'm imagining, but yeah, in order to prove this, it's going to be hundreds of invoices coming in, right? So it's going to be a lot of administrative work for both sides, both the Department of Ag and the business, right? So we are trying to create a system that organizes things as best we can. And the hope is that all of this paperwork is worth it for a store like the general store in Lake County because yeah, it'll result in a tax credit that's equal to 85% of their year's delivery fees, right? So I'm going to just share my screen quickly. So to apply, it won't really require any questions answered, right? Because in order to take advantage of this tax credit, you have to already be a member of the consortium. So we already know everything about your business and how you're reaching a low income, low access community. The big work of the application will be to, yeah, gather all of these invoices and yeah, organize them in a way that makes sense, highlight what's eligible, cross out what isn't, and do that accounting and do that math. So let me actually share a different page here. Okay. All right. So, and all of this, yes, is not yet translated. So we will be, well, we will be translating that when we get it all finalized. But the first step is to gather invoices for all healthy food deliveries that contain a delivery fee. So yeah, we're asking that retailers, this is sort of still to be determined if we can offer this. This is what we hope we can do. It may or may not be allowed legally. But yeah, gather all those invoices that have that fee and circle or highlight that fee. For the distributor that I described, Affiliated Foods or AFI, they send these wonderful summaries each week that break out sort of the categories of each food item purchased and the fees totaled. So if that's the case, retailers can submit that instead of the itemized invoice with every single product ordered. So that'll save a little bit of paperwork. So it is okay to include, to send us an invoice and ask for a tax credit for, you know, even if there were some non-eligible food items on that invoice, but we do ask the retailer to do that math because we can't issue a tax credit on cigarettes, the delivery of cigarettes. We can't issue a tax credit on the delivery of, you know, cannabis products. So, and then, you know, some of these businesses that have sort of a restaurant side as well as a grocery side, we do ask that they just, you know, charge us or, you know, ask for a tax credit for the food items that are for the grocery side of things, not for the ingredients for the restaurant. So eventually going forward, if businesses are able to sort of order separately, that can save them a little bit of work on, you know, tallying up the percentage of the delivery fee that was for the eligible foods versus ineligible. But we do have some steps here, assuming that their invoices aren't separated out. So we ask that the retailer highlight each eligible category or each eligible item, depending on what kind of invoice they're sending us. They total up those eligible items and ineligible items and write those totals on the cover sheet. They then determine the percentage of the eligible items, you know, as a percentage of the total purchase, and then request that percentage of the eligible fees. So if your head isn't spinning now, then yeah, you're probably smarter than I am. But yes, this will be a rather involved accounting process. And yeah, our accounting team is definitely going to be reviewing every single submitted invoice. In addition to that, we also need the proof of payment. So we need to see that each invoice was paid. So that means however the business paid for that invoice, whether it was, yeah, a bank statement or a cleared check. AFI does issue these summaries showing the ACH transfer. So yeah, AFI invoices will be a little more simple to work with, but yeah, again, we know that not every business gets a delivery from AFI. But yeah, this proof of payment is just like all the proof of payments we're asking for, you know, from the grant, from purchases for the grant. And then we'd ideally we need it all in one single PDF because it will be very hard to keep track of lots of bits of paper, with a cover sheet that I can go through with you guys. And then, yeah, and then it will be just a matter of submitting that application. So yeah, I know that's kind of a lot. It's definitely going to be very involved. And yeah, I want to just sort of get your feedback initially. Jay, go ahead.
So yeah, you're talking about this grocery store that's out in the middle of nowhere ordering from affiliated. That's definitely not local food. So does it matter, it doesn't matter what is being delivered or where it's being delivered from, other than it needs to probably be those three staple foods.
Right. It needs to be the healthy foods, right? But if if this grocery store were to start receiving a delivery from a local farmer, and the local farmer had their delivery charge clearly spelled out below, they could submit that as well. But yes, this is for any healthy foods that the grocery store carries.
Even from, yeah, like affiliated, you will cover the costs from a supplier like that. That's wild. So I've just looked at my list of places. It's like there's a lot of like even corner stores that I feel like we should be reaching out to, who do, who are like the little trading post in the middle of nowhere that does just get all that stuff. I don't know. It's sort of like blowing my mind that like y'all want to pay for some of that. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, but they
Well,
have
yeah,
to be
think
a
about it, Jay.
membership member to qualify.
Yeah. So, the programs for expanding access to healthy food, whether it's local or not, right? So, I think the potential of bringing one of those tiny corner stores, convenience stores that you talked about, could be one, you're getting connected with them. You are, the local food coalition is, ushering them to a resource that could significantly help their bottom line, right? So if they are incurring, say, $20,000 worth of delivery expenses every year, and now they're getting, 18,000 of that back, what could they do with that? Could that, yeah, pay for a cooler that would help them offer more fresh food? Maybe it's fresh food from the valley, right? Like, now that they're in the consortium and they're meeting other businesses who talk about, what they are doing to expand access to healthy food, is there a potential by just sort of bringing them in that we can, yeah, help them connect them to farmers and just strengthen our food system, right?
Okay, cool. This is a whole nother, like, this is an interesting, like, whole new list of people to talk to.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
exciting.
Thanks.
Jeanette.
Yeah, it's still pretty new as we were talking about earlier, so I'm still kind of wrapping my head around everything. When you were talking about small stores that have like a restaurant included, a lot of small stores have like a deli, and some of those delis do things like salads and that kind of thing, because that's a prepared, ready to eat food that does not that is not included. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Okay.
It's a gray line for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but we try to hold it because restaurants aren't eligible for this funding opportunity. So we really try to stick to that scope of expanding access to healthy groceries. But it's definitely the case that a lot of these small businesses kind of make their money by being a restaurant or being a deli or being a taqueria, right?
So if we were to flip that and have like one of those kinds of small stores that has like a little grocery area in the front, or sorry, a small restaurant that has a little grocery area that sells like local foods, that would be a qualifying um business. Is that correct?
if they can meet that definition of small
Okay.
food retailer and they can submit all of those eligibility documents, so the invoices, the square footage requirements, if they have a permit that says it's a grocery store, not a restaurant, or
Okay.
grocery with deli, that's sometimes how the
Mm-hmm.
state permits
Okay.
look.
Okay.
So, yeah. Well, thanks for those questions, you two. And Marian, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to clarify, I had heard that you cannot apply to consortium if you weren't awarded anything in the grant. Is it true now that you're expanding to everyone who applied? Okay,
Yes.
but nobody who didn't apply. Like if you're talking to a brand new
Oh.
store,
They're welcome to.
they are, okay.
Yeah.
And that we could start that process now about sharing that information with them. Great.
Yes.
My second question is super interesting, but regarding delivery fees that the farmers choose to, you know what I mean, have to incur when they are delivering fresh food and vegetables. Does that also qualify? Like if, not that the store owner pays the delivery fee, but the farm has to charge the delivery fee. Like if they could lower their delivery fee, they could offer more food at a reasonable cost. This is about local healthy foods. That's what I'm interested in, of course.
Yeah. So the tax credit isn't like we can't award a tax credit twice for the same fee, right? So the farmer
Yeah, I
delivers
mean,
to the
the
store.
retailer couldn't, we would never even do it through the retailer. I was just wondering how the farms, because, you know, I don't see very many benefits coming from these tax credit to the farms, and they are the source of the healthy foods. So, you know, this is an anomaly to me. I don't understand how we can fix this gap that once again, the farmers are penalized. You know, having to charge too high of prices so they can't get their product out to the retail stores because they're not priced, you know.
Right.
And now it's even worse if the people get delivery fee removed from a big distributor, you know, that obviates the local purchasing thing. That's
Well, so Marian, the retailer can get the tax credit on the delivery fee that the local
right.
farmer charged them.
Okay. So that's the way to approach it.
That's the way to approach it. Yeah.
And maybe that is what strengthens the relationship, because in the first round, we were trying to prove that these folks, which absolutely is true, want to develop a relationship with the local farmer that they can have for a longer period of time, right? So what you're saying is one way is this delivery fee is the way the retailer can then buy from the local farmer. Is that what you mean?
And
Okay.
basically get that delivery fee
whichever
almost daily.
side gets it, right?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Marion, you may know more than I do about what kinds of distributors the retailers in your area are working with, but that it may be that that these retailers are working with distributors that don't charge a delivery fee and don't separate that out. And so they won't be able to get any tax credits on buying
Yeah.
from that
Yeah, from
distributor.
Cisco, for instance, right?
But if their local, farmer
Farmer,
or food
yeah.
hub, small food aggregator does separate that out, then maybe the costs work out for them to
Well, I
order
think
more
that
from
it
them.
behooves them to work it out, right? Charge it
Mhm.
as a separate line item from the farm,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
that's it. It's also easy to prove.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because we've been trying to figure out how to get these two groups together, particularly in Boulder County. There's so much opportunity to buy
Yeah.
fresh vegetables throughout the whole year, but
Yeah.
not if we don't have any way to give them help
Mhm.
doing that.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? To lower
Mhm.
the price because this is a price point issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Marion. Jay.
Well, to just, hit on Marion's point, I wonder if, you can encourage your farmers to raise their delivery fee. If that's going to get, the retailer passes that savings sort of from them along to the farmer. That to me seems like a way that we can be supporting our farmers,
Yeah.
because I agree, it is such a shame that a lot of farmers and producers don't qualify for this for various reasons. So that was just my first thought. You're talking about this.
Right. Like how can we have the actual cost of doing that work of delivering be covered by the farmer and they get paid for it by the retailer, and then the retailer eventually only pays 15%. Of course the retailer will have to front that cost and carry that for many months, but right, what could be the outcome of this over a long period of time? What we do want to be careful about is, it's one thing for our local farmers to bump up their delivery fees to be realistic. I'm personally a little worried about when AFI finds out about this. Are they going to
What
increase
is
their fees?
AFI? I'm sorry.
The big distributors, like, are they going to increase their fees because they
Oh,
know
yeah,
about this?
of course.
So I'm not saying to like not talk about that as an idea, but I guess it is something I'm worried about. There's probably nothing we can do about it, but I think just being careful how we talk about it. Yeah. And again, it's still yet to be determined if our retailers are going to go through the trouble of submitting all this paperwork. That's what I'm really concerned about too, is we are asking them to do a lot because of the way the legislation was written and state policies. So we're all going to kind of learn about this together. Lauren.
Yeah, Mickey, I'm curious if you did end up talking to the Lake City general store about this and what their reaction was, or if they had any thoughts.
Yeah, great question. So I actually was just down in Lake City for personal reasons, and I decided to stop in, and then I couldn't help myself, and we got deep in the weeds looking at all the invoices. They seemed really excited about it. So, yeah. But, there's a couple qualifiers there. One, they're working with a distributor that does separate these out. The distributor also sends these really concise summaries that will be easier to submit than 100 invoices with highlights everywhere and then a bank statement proving it was paid. I also happened to learn that the owner has a CPA background, so she's already kind of minded in this way. So they may be the perfect example of a business to take advantage of this. But yeah, it stands to be seen what everyone else will feel about this. So
Cool, thank you. Hinsdale is in our region, so curious for those reasons as well.
yeah. Yeah. So, another thing that could come out of this is, right, retailers kind of helping other retailers and saying, listen, this is what I'm doing to take advantage of this that doesn't kill me administratively. This is how I organize it. Or I've started working with this farmer who, yeah, is really easy to work with, gets me great products to sell in my store, and yeah, is able to itemize things this way. So yeah, this is the opportunity that we have through our legislation. So I think it's up to all of us to figure out how we want to work with it, how we want to use it to strengthen our whole food system, from increased access to healthy food to increased access to local food. Yeah. Okay. Let me go back to the agenda. Any other questions about the consortium as we know it so far?
I just have a quick question. I might have missed. How soon can people start applying?
Today, right now, this moment.
Right?
Yeah, it's on our website. So if you
Okay.
click
Do
on
you have
that,
the direct link to that, or is that is that within the tax credit, or is that a whole separate page or a whole separate
oh,
website?
sorry, I got applications confused. So
I mean, applications for the consortium, to
yes.
apply to be in the consortium.
So Marion, if you go to that link, you'll see a big green button that says consortium member
Cool.
application. We
Fantastic.
don't have it yet in Spanish. That's coming
Okay.
probably in the next few days.
Yeah.
We will send a newsletter once we have it. And then, yeah, but since you guys get the insider information, that it's up. And if you have people in mind, you can start recommending this.
Is there any benefit to a farmer joining? Because you're doing the distribution through the food hubs. They would have to create a relationship with the food hub, correct?
So, right, creating a relationship with the food hub is great if that works for them. But if they have relationships with retailers, they don't want to work with a food hub, they'd rather just deliver directly to a retailer. They can get this benefit of, the delivery fee that maybe the retailer's a little more willing to pay with the tax credit. Joining the consortium could be a good way for them to meet other retailers that they could work with.
Okay.
So yeah, I think you're thinking about this the right way though, Marion. It's definitely not this immediate, you know, as I mentioned, a lot of these opportunities are geared towards the retailer. If you have a farmer that's very excited about expanding their markets to retailers, this is a great opportunity for them to join.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be lost if you join. It's no fee. I mean,
Yeah.
you can come to the meetings, you can develop your own relationships from there.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
I'm curious if people can join anytime. Like if they don't even discover this until a year later, is that still relevant?
Yeah. We'll have this application open all the time. We'll review it weekly, and then we'll have a process of initiating those new members. So they'll get access to all the recordings of the meetings. They'll learn about the Food Hub member benefits that they have access to. And they'll, be introduced to the tax credit.
And this isn't I keep thinking that like I'd really like to be in these consortium meetings to like understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I feel like people are going to ask us about it, you know, and I'm not sure we're going to know as much as you guys, but maybe y'all are the TA for the consortium. So I'm a little bumping into like wanting to do those too.
Well, yeah, you guys are welcome to join those consortium meetings. And I think as this work moves forward, you know, I'm just thinking years into the future, right? The grant's over. The costly equipment tax credit is humming along. It's no different than it's been last year, the year before, the future years. So we have our regular opportunities. The exciting work here is going to come out of the consortium and the problems that we're solving in that consortium, the connections that we're making. So yeah, I think a lot of what we are going to be talking about in these monthly meetings is going to be a little more in line with, yeah, working together to, yeah, serve these small food businesses. And a lot of those solutions will be kind of nuanced and region specific. But yeah, we want all of you as thought partners with that. In addition to your role in promoting it as an opportunity and helping people access it. So, you know, to the extent that that fits in with your other goals and missions of your own work outside of this contract, we'd love to have all of you involved in that consortium. So I thought, because it is a little bit, there's a lot going on right now. I feel like I'm just dumping information on all of you as we learn it. At the bottom of our agenda, I wrote this out, and again, this is in Spanish down below. But I thought it might be helpful to just sort of, you know what we are expecting of you right now at this moment in time. So I'll go over that right now. One, first and foremost, we have a lot of grantees out there who need help. So what we hope you are actively doing right now is, you know, reaching out to just to check in and supporting grantees who have received an award and, you know, need to submit proof of payment. This may not be something that takes a lot of time. It might just be, you know, hey, how's it going? What's the status on all of that? Do you need help? It might be that they reply and say, yep, I'm all good, it's fine. But some may need a lot of help, right? Adonai, Michelle, and I are kind of in deep with getting these proof of payment documents back from every grantee. So I ask that everybody is still, you know, this is still the primary work that's going on with our program. And we hope that everybody who's working on this contract is an expert in this guide being the proof of payment and receipt guide for beneficiaries. So that's kind of like the big action work right now. Learning about the equipment tax credit is what I expect from you all now, right? So I don't expect everyone to be experts in the tax credit at this point. It's so new. There's still so much being developed. You know, start to expand your outreach for this program, the equipment tax credit program, as you learn about it and feel comfortable with it. You know, in your learning, please read the materials that we have available through that shared document and on our website. And please ask me questions and Adonai questions as they come up for you as you're working with various businesses. So, you know, actively reaching out to grantees, but still just sort of learning about the equipment tax credit. Okay, and then just starting to wrap your head around what we talked about today, the consortium offerings. I don't expect you all to go out right now and tell as many people that you know about the consortium unless you feel really good about, you know, all of your understanding of what it is. It's okay to just take a beat, let it all sink in, let it fit into, you know, let it be a puzzle piece that fits into all this other work that you are doing through this contract and through all the other work that you guys do outside of this contract. Please ask me questions as they come up about the consortium. And then, you know, thinking about who might be a good fit business, you know, good fit being a retailer who wasn't awarded a grant. And yeah, start to, and I apologize, I have not put the a document that lists out the Food Hub member benefits or the, you know, instructions for the consortium tax credit benefits in your folder, but I will do that today. So reading those, just sort of digesting it all, right? So yeah, actively reaching out to awardees, learning about the tax credit for equipment, and then just beginning to start to wrap your head around the consortium, right? And then always, we expect you to be connecting frequently with the other members of your outreach and TA team. Keeping up with that invoicing, keeping up with that quarterly reporting, and then, yeah, doing that slow work of building trust and relationships with, you know, like Jay, just, you know, yeah, starting to make connections with those convenience stores you're thinking about right now. That could take a long time. They might not really go for it right off the bat. So, you know, it is still work going there, meeting them, seeing if, yeah, seeing if you can build a relationship. That's all part of this contract, right? And we do hope that it's happening kind of continuously, you know, expanding that map of who the food businesses are and yeah, how they can fit into this puzzle piece. Jay.
Yeah, I actually, there is, not for the consortium, but for the tax credit, I feel there is like quite a bit of urgency to let people know, because you told us to like keep it quiet during the summer while
Yeah.
markets were happening. So we didn't go do outreach to
Right.
Huerfano County.
Yeah.
Around this, but now I'm like, I need to contact all these people that might have bought equipment this year that are not going to qualify for this tax credit next year. And so I feel like a major sense of urgency to like let them know that we need to like, you know, do this.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think I'm hesitant to give a lot of urgency if you're not understanding the equipment tax credit, if it's not clear to you what is what's eligible. But please, yes, if you're fully on board, you're tracking with it, you have businesses in mind to talk to about this, then yes, get the word out. And yes, if they bought something this year, it won't be eligible. They won't be able to apply in January. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Jay. There is some element of urgency here. I think just also remembering too, though, I think more for the businesses who haven't bought anything and they're thinking of buying something, that's a lower priority. So they've got years to consider that, submit a eligibility request form, buy it. Yeah. So I think, yeah, we could maybe change our language here. Actively reaching out and supporting grantees and actively reaching out to good fit businesses who may have already bought something this year. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, that's all I have for our agenda today. So, yeah, as always, feel free to reach out, on your own time if you want to talk about anything specific to your region. But yeah, thank you for attending this
And I have to
meeting,
call you right back.
putting all of your, thoughts and energies into this, and helping us really start this program in a lot of ways. So yeah, talk to you all later.
Bye, thank you.
Can I ask a question real quick? When do you
Sure.
think you'll have this up, this
Thank you.
recording? Because I missed the first 10 minutes of it.
Oh gosh, great question, Marion. We try to get them turned around in 5 days, but sometimes that
Okay.
doesn't happen.
Will you just send us a link or send it to how, just let us
Yeah.
know when it's up there.
And they always go on, the document where we have all the recordings.
Yeah,
So we always go put them on there. But yeah, I'll let Holly know when.
okay.
when it's ready.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you soon.
Okay.